Good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome to If Emmett Was Alive Today podcast special edition. You can watch us on Facebook live on my personal Facebook page. You can watch it on If Emmett Was Alive Facebook page, and you can go to YouTube and put in Prevention Zone Inc., and there you will find the link to this live podcast. And in a few days, we'll have it on If Emmett Was a Live podcast, which is streamed by Apple
Be
and other
quiet.
outlets. And
Go on
so we have a very special guest on tonight, and I wanted to invite this young man to the show because he definitely have a story to tell about the real struggle of being on parole and the things that you are faced with while on parole. And so, let's get started. And you can go, and if you have any questions, you can put it in the chat there on Facebook as well as YouTube. So let's get ready for the show. And I will be introducing to you Mr. Clinton John. How are you this evening?
I'm doing fine, ma'am.
Yeah, you're doing good. Well, I appreciate you accepting my invite to be on this special edition of our show. And so the reason for having you on is because it's almost like Houston, we have a problem. And
Yes,
and it's dealing with the Harris County Jail and the HPD and all the things, and then with you being in the situation you in. So go ahead and introduce yourself to our audience on tonight.
I am. My name is Clinton Johns. Uh, I am on parole currently for aggravated robbery. I
Mhm.
served, went to prison in September 15th, 1995, and I that was my first time going to prison. I was currently attending University of Houston. I was redshirting on a scholarship, and my first time experience with prison. I went September the 15th again, 1995. I think I was 20, right at 23 years old, and I had to do 20 and a half years before I would come up for parole for a 40-year sentence. Um, I came back home in June 23rd, 2016. Made that transition, having done accumulated 21 years total, 6,665 days, counting them, and making the transition from incarceration back into society. It was a little difficult. I had some family support. That was my backbone with me making the transition. Got out, opened up my own business, became very, very lucrative in landscaping, lawn care, pressure washing,
Mhm.
small home repair, and logistics, which is freight, hauling freight. We've had our business for roughly about the entire 8 going on 9 years that
Mhm.
I have been out since June 23rd, 2016, and doing very, very well. We acquired, my wife and myself, we acquired certifications with the city of Houston,
Mhm.
certifications with Metro, certifications with Harris County as well, and with the Port of Houston, Port authorities. And we participated in various non-profit functions. Keep Houston Beautiful. It's currently not inactive. It was the Houston Mow Down program, and we utilized that program with opening up doors through our company to be able to hire on second chance offenders or justice involved individuals to allow them an opportunity to support themselves and get a start with getting back into the mainstream, being that they were uh, formerly incarcerated themselves.
So you somewhat had like a reentry program, or you was just kind of doing it on your own, trying to reintegrate the people who were coming out of prison.
I was doing I did it on my own. My upbringing. My father is a very very influential person, as well as my mother. They
Mm-hmm.
are very involved community wise. My dad, I grew up in Pleasantville, Texas. My dad, his name, our names are the same. The difference, me being the third, him being junior. My dad he has transitioned,
Mm-hmm.
gone home to be with the Lord.
Yes.
He is he was civic league president for over 15 years. Pleasantville is the highest black voting precinct in the
Hmm.
state of Texas. That would be precinct two, position two,
Okay.
and my dad treated literally everybody in the community the way that he treated me as family, whether you were single parent,
Hmm.
no parent, grandparent, aunt, uncle.
Hmm.
It didn't matter. My dad was involved with the community. He wanted the best for everybody.
Yeah.
He also played baseball. He played for the Indianapolis Clowns, and he
Okay.
also played for Bingo Long and the Traveling All Stars.
Oh
He
wow.
retired his baseball in the Birmingham Negro League Hall of Fame,
Hmm. Hmm.
in the baseball museum. He retired it before he transitioned. So
Okay.
he was very very community oriented with getting sports and different things
Hmm.
established within the community and working with different politicians and um, state representatives.
Okay. Okay. So sound like you had a solid background for us, your family dynamics. You know, you had your mom and dad, and you had a just sound like a good family life, and then look like, how did you get off track? What happened? Share some of that a little bit.
I have I have had a good honest overview and look into that.
Mm-hmm.
Very very poor choices, not setting up boundaries,
Mm-hmm.
um, peer pressure at times, wanting to be with the cool kids, if you will, or with the in crowd.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of the time thinking that because of the way that I was raised, I could influence them when I was the one who ended up being influenced. Um, for me, it was there was a little pressure um, with the way that I was brought up. Not we didn't do too much hanging out in the streets, stuff like that. Real church, coming from a church background, and I'm telling you, once I was so I just felt free once I got out of the house and got my first scholarship to blend
Uh,
and started playing basketball. And once I
yeah.
got taste, it seemed as though I was in jail, but I what I really realized was that the things that my mother and father were pouring into me and instilling in me are the things that have brought about the man that you see today.
Yeah.
They have carried me through and some good things, character and values and principles and morals. So those are the things that they were doing. I find myself doing those very same things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. So you grown up, adult, get into some trouble, you're on parole, and you shared about your business that you had, and everything is looking good. You are definitely reintegrating back into society successfully.
Yes.
And until one day your whole life changed. Can you kind of begin telling us what changed your life, and how long ago was this that your life made this change?
So, March March 31st
Mm-hmm.
of 2022. This was a Thursday afternoon,
Mm-hmm.
and I have acquired a couple of things. I decided to purchase a motorcycle. I had bought a motorcycle, um, and from a young lady. It was well kept. A minister at my church, they ride motorcycles as well, and I decided to buy the bike. I find it to be very stress relieving. Um, as in the biker world, they call it wind therapy, and I learned how to ride a motorcycle. And I decided I said I'll get one. Um, and I decided to buy one. I bought one from the young lady. We did a title transfer, and I put the bike in the shop so that get little meticulous things done, get it tuned up, and little things needed to be fixed on it. And the bike had been in the shop for probably about 8 months or so. And on March 31st, 2022, I went and picked the motorcycle up while on the way in with my employees. We were riding in my in my work truck,
Mm-hmm.
and the guy called me that Thursday evening. Said that they had my bike ready. I had been waiting on it for like 8 months, so I wanted to get it. Friday, I knew I wasn't going to be able to pick it up because we have a lot of Friday yards and landscaping and stuff. Everybody likes their yards done on Friday,
Okay.
and I wasn't. I didn't think that was a good business decision for my own personal enjoyment to take off that day or interrupt that day and have to put off my clients.
Mm-hmm.
So I asked them how late they were going to be open. It was about 4 o'clock. I was coming from the Woodlands, and they said they'd wait until I got there. So uh, I drove there, paid what I owed. There was left the remaining balance on the repairs that were done,
Mm-hmm.
and drove away with my motorcycle. Had my employees take the work truck and the trailer, and so that they could meet me at the storage. I had some money on me, money bag, and some checks and stuff. So I wanted to stop. I stopped at the service station, wanted to make a quick call, check on my mom, and then go to the bank, put the money in the bank. What I recall was when I was driving down the street, airline headed airline turned on Tidwell. I was headed towards the freeway, towards 45, and just in my gut feeling, I saw two officers. I saw a police car sitting over to the side. Then I could see as I got closer, two officers in there, um, two Hispanic officers, and just something in my stomach. Just it just you just get these feelings, and so I was like, okay, so I have my license, I got my registration, I got insurance. We just did a title transfer. I have the receipt. I'm going over all of this in my mind as I'm approaching because I'm finna turn in the service station because I want to pull over and use the phone. I can't talk
Okay.
on the phone on the motorcycle, of course not.
Right. Right.
So and I could have easily just kept going, you know, but again, didn't see any reason to avoid that because all my stuff was up to par. I turned in the service station, passed by them, acknowledged them. They looked at me. I looked at them, passed by them, and still in my gut, something tells me I drove all the way to the very, very front of the service station, the very front gas pump, turned the bike off, put it in the rest position, and I was on the phone. And while I'm on the phone talking to my mom, I noticed that there were lights flashing in the windows. I couldn't turn around because of the way I'm seated on the bike. Couldn't turn all the way around. And these officers approached me, started asking me for my license, registration, insurance, all of which I had. Asked me again the same thing. I told him I had it. Um, then he went straight to, "Do you have any weapons on you?" Which I found very odd. I was like, "Why would you why would you approach me and I'm sitting on my motorcycle and ask me about license, registration, insurance? Do you have some guns, weapons, knives, uh, any dangerous objects on you? I was like, what is that question for? Um, so I told him that I had a sidearm in my left front pocket, uh, as it is not illegal to have a firearm at this time currently in Texas. So he left it at that. Took my driver's license, did not get my insurance, did not get my registration. Went back to the police car, um, started running my information. All everything came back clear. And some of the information that I am providing for you is after having gone through court and having an opportunity to look at these officers' body worn cameras. So I've had an opportunity to look at them. So some of the information I can give a little bit better in detail, and
Mm-hmm.
not just off the top of my head as I recollect. Um, and I observed on his body worn camera the officer uh, being very disgruntled and frustrated when he ran no warrants, insurance clear, registration clear, um, no nothing. The officer came back and told me that a previous uh, accusation or charge that was brought up against me that was dismissed in court that happened in 2020, um, same agency, HPD, same foolishness, stated that he manipulated the conversation. No, he fabricated the conversation. Let me just be straight. He lied. He stated that what he saw on his CMT screen, which is
Mm-hmm.
computer uh, module terminal, which is in the car, is that he stated that it indicated something to the liking of those cases were pending. Like I had uh, an open case, and that was his reason for further detainment, and that he needed to contact the district attorney's office to find out if I was clear on these cases that had clearly been disposed and dismissed.
Okay, so these cases that you received after you were on parole, or was this something even older than that?
No, these were cases that I received after I was paroled
Okay.
in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
In 2022, I had the same incident with law enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
The neighborhood where we stay at, that's one thing.
Mm-hmm.
And again, had to end up going to internal affairs, filing a official complaint with the internal affairs division about these officers for writing false police offense reports
Mm-hmm.
for harassment, discrimination.
Okay. Okay. And
And
so how did they come out? Was it in your favor?
yes, so this last complaint that I filed with IAD,
Mm-hmm.
they found the officers guilty of the accusations that I presented. I simply wrote out just straight facts, what
Mm-hmm.
the officers did, and then I found out later what made me follow up with the IAD complaint. Is once I got arrested March 31st, 2022. I'm
Mm-hmm.
out on bond. My parole officer is didn't blue warrant me. His interaction with me was
Mm-hmm.
like, no, something doesn't sound right. That,
Right,
that
right.
doesn't sound like you've been on parole all this time, and all of a sudden, that just doesn't sound right. So, um, my mom calls me and tells me called me. I want to say in May, early May, she called and told me. She said, "Hey, you have some warrant notices here from the city of Houston."
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, warrants for what? And she said, I don't know. She said it's from the city of Houston. So I told her, I said, I'll be over there. Let me come and check them out.
Mm-hmm.
And when I get there, the officers have wrote me tickets for um let me grab it. The
Which officers?
two officers that allegedly they stated that they pulled me over. I was already parked. They
Right.
didn't pull me over
At the store, at
at,
the
at, at the gas station. The
oh,
officers wrote me. This officer wrote me a ticket for no motorcycle endorsement, no registration, expired tags for March 2019. Never owned a motorcycle. Uh, March 2019. Failure to establish financial responsibility, unable to verify insurance. Uh, he also put on the ticket consent to search. Uh, he put no because I didn't give him consent to search. Uh, for search, he put yes, he did search, and then yes, he arrested. He never gave me a copy of this ticket. I never got a copy of this ticket. I found this out from my mom, and found out that I had warrants for warrants out for my arrest.
okay, so let me take you back. So being on parole, and you when you get stopped, so okay, so thinking back when I was a parole officer, so you got stopped by the cops and you told your parole officer about it, right? Later on.
I got arrested March 31st again,
Uh-huh.
2022. That was
Uh-huh.
on a Thursday night.
Uh-huh.
That Friday, my parole officer already told me that he knew I had got arrested. His I really don't want to disclose too much, but
Right.
he was requested to go ahead and blue warrant me right then.
So okay.
He didn't. He saw that I was they were giving me a PR bond, so I got a PR bond Saturday morning, and that following Monday morning, the first business day, I called him, and that's when we spoke, and he told me, "Hey man, uh, continue to report, take care of your business.
Mhm.
Once they indict you, then uh, they're going to issue a blue warrant for you. So
Okay.
do whatever you need to do and get your stuff taken care of.
Mhm.
Because all my fees and everything, I don't have problems on parole. Nah,
Right,
I don't.
right. That's my point. So the process is once you are issued a warrant through the city, the county, we as parole officers have to issue a blue warrant.
Correct.
So the blue warrant had to it kicked in because of your arrest. So, and we know the revocation process. What happens is you have to wait until you get a court date.
Mhm.
So, did you ever get a court date? Was a court date ever set for you?
My court date was set. The first court date I had
Uh-huh.
was that following Monday, which would be April the 4th.
Okay.
I was released on PR bond and declared indigent, to so that I would I requested to have council representation appointed to me.
Mm-hmm.
That Monday morning, when I reported to court in the
Before you go
170.
on, explain the PR bond because our audience might be out there thinking, "What's a PR bond?"
Oh, a public recognizance bond.
Mm-hmm.
The bond was issued based on uh, whatever criteria constituted the level of the crime,
Mm-hmm.
how serious the crime was, um, what the determinations were for probable cause, and
Mm-hmm.
if they in fact had probable cause.
Okay.
And once you fill out an affidavit that states an affidavit, a sworn statement stating my financial income, then all of these things are taken into an account, and they determine, well, does he have enough money to pay to get himself out,
Mm-hmm.
or should we just go ahead and let him out on his own personal good recognizance
Mm-hmm.
because he's trustworthy enough to show up for court?
Yes.
So I met that criteria, which
Mm-hmm.
is why they gave me a personal cognizance bond,
Okay.
hence PR bond.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and again, it was The other things that I found out with the the paperwork that I have from the court documents is that I never, while I was awaiting to get the PR bond, I never went before a judge. I never went before a judge. The statements that I am making are public record. Uh, Anybody is more than welcome to go on the Harris County District Clerk's website. These documents are available. I have printed them up myself. I have my own hard copy of them, and you will see on the documents, on the actual documents, it clearly states. It clearly states that I was released on personal PR bond. And I'm going to read exactly what it says on there. It says, probable cause for further detention, PR bond, bail or bail order. Defendant not present. I don't know if you can see that. See that where it says defendant not present?
Move it, kind of raised up a little bit.
Let me find that right there.
And yes, so hold it up a little bit. Yeah, not present due to.
Yeah, defendant not present.
Due to, what was the other on there?
The other, it says this court finds that probable cause for further detention exists. The court orders that the defendant be committed to the custody of the sheriff of Harris County, Texas, until he posts a required bond or until further order of the court. And that's it. This is April the 2nd, 2022 at 11:47 a.m. I never went before the judge. Further validation of it is you can see on the public safety assessment, which is the things that I discussed to you earlier on the public safety assessment. And again, these documents are on Harris County's district clerk website as we speak right now.
Yeah.
It says personal bond recommendation referred to magistrate. When it gets down to personal bond bail requests for the district attorney PR bond bail request, it has no position. The reason there's no position with the DA is because I was never there. So there could be in a position. When it says public defender bail request, it says no position because I was never there. I was out on bond. So these people not only gave me a PR bond, but did not take me before a magistrate so that I could have my Miranda rights read to me. Ask, in fact, do you understand the charges being presented against you?
Right.
Can you afford an attorney? Can you hire an attorney? And then my favorite one, which is what my complaint was, you have the right to an examination trial. Because had I had an opportunity to go before a magistrate judge, I would have asked for my right to use an examination trial, simply meaning that they would allow me to present the evidence to controvert that these officers stated that I didn't have insurance, license, and registration, and I had all of that stuff available. And I would have been able to present that to the judge, which would have negated well, no, you can't have probable cause. You said that this guy didn't have this. This was your reason for pulling him over. And those officers would have had to come up there. We could have got that settled then.
So what was the date on the ticket? Was it the date that they stopped you?
The date on the ticket is March 31st at 4:52 p.m. I was on the phone with my mom at 4:52 p.m. per her AT&T phone records, per my phone records. There's nowhere in the world he wrote me a ticket at 4:52.
While you on the phone?
I'm on the phone, he has written a ticket stating that he has identified me. He has ran my license registration. That I didn't have, my tags were expired. I ain't have no motorcycle endorsement. He couldn't verify my insurance at 4:52. There's no way you did that when you're just now pulling up. When you look at the body, the time stamp on his body cam, on his body worn camera, it's not even the same time. There's no way in the world you're going to make that happen. And further insult to injury, this is the official police report right here. This right here.
Okay.
This one right here is a official police report. I got a copy of that. The officer that wrote me the ticket is not even the officer that wrote this report. One of the cops, the transporting officer, he wrote this on here. He is listed on this HPD official police report. He is listed as the first officer, the second officer, the reporting officer, and the approval officer. He states on here that he arrived at 4:56 p.m., not 4:52, and he states that he arrested me on page 4 of this document. He states that he arrested me at 5:01. Yeah.
So where were you at 5:01?
Sitting on my motorcycle, still talking to those officers. This officer was never there. These two officers transported me. This was a rookie cop who pulled up. And again, after I watched all of these officers' body cams, you can see them handing out paperwork and and collectively getting their story together. They literally forgot that their body worn camera is going.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And none of this adds up. When
Right.
you look on here, even the same officer that wrote the ticket, the one that wrote the ticket versus the one that wrote this report, he puts in his summary. He says, I, Officer TJ Conley, while riding with my partner, Officer Spitzer, checked by with a unit who had conducted a traffic stop in the 500 block of East Tidwell on March 31st, 2022 at 5:27 hours, at 17:27 hours, which is 5:27.
Right.
Harris County, Texas. Upon arrival, these two officers are saying, upon arrival at 5:32, I observed officers standing with the suspect who was seated on his motorcycle in handcuffs. Well, why would you put on here that you arrived at 4:56 and that you arrested me at 5:01? And you clearly state in your summary of the whole incident that you were called there and you came at 5:32. When you arrived, I was already handcuffed. So how did you do that? In what part did you do that? And they just fabricate these official documents. This is the part that is it is not only despicable, but it ruins an individual's life. It's a lie in the highest regard. No accountability. And what have I found? I looked when I filed the complaint with the Internal Affairs Division. I looked at HPD policies. I wish that people would take our time to go online, read these policies for these law enforcement agencies. Sheriff's Department has one. They have general orders. HPD has general orders. The constable has everybody has general orders. These are the general orders.
Including parole have general orders.
Parole has general orders.
Probation have general orders.
Everybody has rules and regulations that are put in place. Not the agency has them in place for people who get out of line or who don't want to be accountable.
Right.
Because sometimes people are human. You know, you could be having a bad day.
Right.
Well, that's what this is for. Under the code and conduct of authority for the general orders for the HPD department, it clearly states there's a subsection that is labeled. I highlighted this because I've been reading it extensively. It says truthfulness. And it says employees shall not make false, untrue, or misleading statements, verbal or written, made directly by or authorized by the employee. Any statement or omission of pertinent information that intentionally, knowingly, or recklessly misrepresents facts or mislead others shall be considered as a false statement. A violation of this policy may result in discipline up to and not including indefinite suspension. They
Wow.
lied on an
Mm-hmm.
official government document.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You lied. It is not the truth.
Yeah. So
It's not the truth.
Quentin, listening to you and to my audience, I wanted Mr. John to give all the details of that part. But here is where it really kicks in is when now that you're arrested, and you would think because of the revocation process, how long it could take, like let's just say a crime was committed and the charges was dismissed, so that means that you have to have a revocation hearing with your parole,
Yes.
and then we usually take about 30 days to hear back
Mm,
if you will be reinstated back on parole, which what of average time of about what 2 months.
2 months. 2 months.
2 months,
Two,
yeah.
2.5 months, depending on how fast things are going.
How fast things are going. So, with that being said, and I'm so glad I understand the parole system, and trust me, I enjoyed being a parole officer when I was one. And do I kind of miss it sometimes? Yes and no, but I think my purpose, I don't think, but my purpose is right now what's going on because I'm having this conversation with you.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
so but let's drive it on into you didn't get a chance to go to through the revocation process. Why that didn't happen?
Um, the reason I couldn't go through the revocation process with parole is because I had to wait until this court case was disposed of. I had to wait the final disposition of this court case in criminal court.
Okay.
So, however long, if it took me 3 years before I finally went to trial, or I signed for some time, or they dismissed it, which is what happened to it, they found me not guilty, then that's how long I would have to sit in jail under that blue warrant.
Mm-hmm.
And until there's a final disposition on the criminal case. Then, based on whatever that disposition is,
Uh-huh.
then the parole board calls you in and asks, hey, do you or don't you want to waive, or do
Mm-hmm.
you want to have your revocation? And then
Right.
they'll make based on the facts,
Mm-hmm.
um whether you're found guilty, whether it's dismissed, then they'll go with, um, we're going to reinstate you
Mm-hmm.
under these conditions, or with no extra added conditions, or
Right.
whatever. So
Right.
that's what what made me have to stay and not be released is, one, I had to wait until this case was over with in regular court, in criminal
And
court.
so when was the case over with?
The case was
What
dismissed.
happened? It was
Um,
dismissed.
they found, it says on the dismissal, it says, because I want to tell you exactly what it says. I don't want to
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
not
Well, we
not
want
quote it.
you have the documents there, and
Yes,
you're reading from the documents. I want to know, when was this case dismissed?
this case was dismissed.
And I appreciate the audience for taking time out to hear this story. This is the reason it's our special edition.
The case was dismissed. It is file date stamped. It is file date stamped in the corner right here.
September the 7th.
Right, and we'll go down over here to. That's what they dismissed it based on.
Insufficient evidence of defendant's guilt. Wait a minute.
Huh. Yeah. Yeah.
So you were arrested back in 2022,
Yes. March 31st, 2022.
and you just got out of prison or out of jail. Let me correct that because there is a difference. You got out of the Harris County Jail. That's
In
where
mid
you at?
September. In mid September.
September 2023. September the 7th, 2023.
No, I didn't get out on the 7th. The case was dismissed on the 7th. Then I had to go to parole.
And then how long was parole then?
About it took about a month.
Another month.
Yes.
Correct. So that means that had this case and the procedures of when you were arrested and going to the magistrate and all of that kind of stuff in 2022, you could have been released out of jail, including parole revocation, March, April, May.
Could have been through with it.
But instead, it was September the 7th for the dismissal, 2023. And then you get out of jail when?
I want to say right at the end of September, maybe the 27th, 28th of September.
And that was the revocation process.
Yes, ma'am. Correct.
So this is the reason I wanted you to come on here. So that means while you was sitting in jail, technically for no reason at all. Am I correct?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
So
ma'am.
that means that while you sitting in Harris County Jail for something you didn't do, based on a false report filed by our HPD officer, Houston Police Department, and you sat there. So who ran your business while you were away? Who took care of your family?
My wife, she tried to keep the business going as best as she could with the employees. It is that's just not her. That's not her job.
Right.
Um, the business went downhill. It she shared various things. As a matter of fact, I looked here recently at in the business phone. I looked at some of the text messages that were sent from my clients where work was half done, and they were saying Clinton couldn't have possibly been here, uh, or was available.
Mm-hmm.
Just hey, it's people being people. You know,
And so while sitting in Harris County Jail, your business started going down, down, down.
mhm.
So technically, your business that you had you living large, right? Your business was good when you had it, right?
Yes, ma'am. We were roughly making six figures a year. We were doing very well.
Down 18 months with you spending in the Harris County Jail, your business went down to zero.
To zero. Yes. Um, while I was in the Harris County Jail, uh, she was evicted, um, and she ended up having to stay in her mother's dining room with my daughter was 3 or just turning 3
Mm-hmm.
at the time that I got arrested and this whole ordeal started. So she literally has been living in a dining room space, which is roughly about a 10 by 8 space, and everything is crammed in there. As we speak right now, I'm sitting in it.
So
I'm
y'all
in,
you're still at your mother-in-law's house?
yes, we're at my mother's in-laws house. Everything is in here. The refrigerator is right there. The TV is right there. The desk is right there. All my baby's clothes are right here in front of me. I'm
Mm-hmm.
sitting on the bed, and I have all my stuff in bags, or she has all her stuff piled up on the floor over there, and we and the microwave is over here, and the little food that we have up there. So we just
All
kind of organize it.
because, all
All
because
because
false report
all because of a false report.
that led to a warrant
Yes,
and led you to stay in jail over 18 months
yes, ma'am.
and being on parole. It's bad enough to say you be on parole. You know what I mean?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, it's hard out there, but but you can come out and reintegrate successfully,
Yes,
pending
ma'am.
that you have an open mind and you're willing to make this work while on parole.
The part that's very concerning, and my heart goes out to anybody who is put in this position, whether they were guilty or not.
Mm-hmm.
Um, once they've done their time,
Mm-hmm.
if a person goes to jail and they have to stay in there for extensive amount of time, anything over 6 months or 90 days, I'll say, whether guilty or not, once a person has done their time, or in my instance, found not guilty,
Mm-hmm.
there's no Mr. Jones, I'm sorry for it's more than an inconvenience. I'm there's no apologies. There is nothing in place. I simply met my wife downstairs to pick me up September the 28th, 27th, came home, went and got whatever little clothes and stuff that I could get out of our storage because everything is all packed in there, and had to start living. Um, no job. The little money that she's doing with because she's administrative assistant. She's
Mm-hmm.
doing accounting,
Okay.
to keep money on the food on the table.
Yes.
And
Yes.
while I try to reset, get my license, uh, all of these things renewed, get the vehicles back up and running, the
Mm-hmm.
inspections, get all of this stuff that is just it's a hot mess, and I have nothing to come home to,
Wow.
nothing.
Wow.
Um, and it can be overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
I
I'm
thank God.
sure.
I thank God for strength.
Yeah.
I really do, and I thank God for the people that like yourself, um, and the other people that I've met who have been supportive in helping me find some resources
Yes.
to work my way back up.
Yes.
Um,
Yes. Yes. And you will bounce back.
absolutely,
You will
absolutely,
bounce back. That's, I can't see it no other way. It's gonna
yes,
be as if you having a bad day, many bad days, but
yes,
you will bounce back. I'm just saying, I'm not no prophetess and all of those things,
yes,
no
ma'am,
predictor. I just know that you will bounce back.
yes, ma'am,
And that's why we're here. And I wanted to share this special edition with my audience so that they can hear and see that these little bitty things that happen within the system, everything don't make the news. And it'd be so interesting to hear this type of story. They didn't flash that on channel 13, did they?
no, ma'am, no,
Okay.
ma'am,
Okay. I'm thinking of 13, 26, channel 2, channel 11, you
no,
know,
ma'am.
ch-
And,
channel.
and this is while I was in there, there were various other people who came in there, may have had some drama with their significant other, or
Mhm,
it, she got mad that night, called the
mhm,
police on him,
mhm,
and it happens.
mhm.
He
All
hit
the
me,
time.
or he pushed me, and they're in there,
Mhm,
and then the person comes back and uh tells the prosecutor, files an affidavit, said, well, it never happened, I was just mad at him. But this
that's not
guy done
how
said
they
it,
roll.
he done said it their whole year.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And you want to
Whew, wow. Um,
and then and I'm not in Harris County Jail is a hot mess.
yeah, I believe it.
The extortion, the level of violence and brutality from both prisoners as well as officers in there. I got a chance to see that with my own eyes.
Wow.
Um, which is how we met, because I went with
Jocelyn.
Mrs. Josselette for Evan Lee. Her son
Yes.
was beat to death
Mm-hmm.
because he had some mental challenges.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, they have this. I told you before, man. You got people paying for bunks. For a place to sleep. $60 for the top bunk, $30 for the. I mean, $60 for the bottom bunk, 30 for the top bunk, and all these gangs and cliques and crews, and if you don't get with the program, then you know, and then the officers are just as bad. You know, you it's no outlet.
Wow.
Guys come in there, they have money on their books or money on the phone or whatever, and they're extorted for it. And
Wow.
it's just it's a free for all.
Right.
And,
Right.
and and you expect somebody to come back out. That is a traumatic experience. Being incarcerated, it is traumatic on anybody's mind,
Hmm.
especially for the individual who is innocent
Yeah.
or didn't commit
Hmm.
what was alleged against him, to have to come back out and try to regroup after experiencing going through some that level of trauma mentally.
Just
God
at,
forbid they should get physically assaulted or
mhm.
have something happen to them.
And this
Um,
is all at the jail.
yes,
So I know my face, my audience is probably like, look at her face. Why don't you fix her face? Y'all just don't know. My facial expressions has been I'm looking in the camera and I'm like, oh my God, let me hide my mouth because my mouth is hanging and it's this is a lot. So as we close, giving some final words in your thoughts, in your mind, in a sentence, how can we make a change?
there is a big word,
Mm-hmm.
that there is a one single word, and it's called accountability.
Okay, there it is.
It's called accountability. Um,
Accountability from who?
from anybody who is in authority or has a position of authority, who I may have expressed this to you before. I will say it again. For employees or individuals to volunteer and sign on stating that I will oppose said rules, laws, regulations, or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and turn around and voluntarily not do them is crazy. No accountability.
No account.
Voluntarily not do them. And when you bring it to their attention, then they have the audacity and unmitigated gall to get an attitude
Mm-hmm.
about you asking them about something that they signed on to do. You
Mm-hmm.
said you want to do that. And just as a human being with integrity, you should want to do the right thing.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
You should want to do the right thing.
Absolutely.
I'd also like to say in closing too,
Uh-huh.
restoring justice. Restoring justice is the organization
Mm-hmm.
um, that took my case. They are a nonprofit organization,
Mm-hmm.
and they are available. They do it by case basis.
Mm-hmm.
They take, based on their funding, cases where they find that people are highly probable of being found not guilty or innocent
Mm-hmm.
of some type of charge or
Right.
accusation that is presented against them.
Mm-hmm.
I was blessed to get Restoring Justice Foundation to take my case. Mr.
Wow.
Kevin Coker is I believe, the CEO, if I'm not mistaken, now at the current time,
Mm-hmm.
as well as my attorney.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
Mrs. Monique Joseph is over the holistic program.
Okay.
Um, Mrs. Tyne, she is over the Adelphi
Mm-hmm.
um, program,
Mm-hmm.
and Miss Claudia, she works there as well. She is a paralegal
Okay.
assistant to
Okay.
Mr. Kevin Coker.
Yeah.
These
Yeah.
these people, if it weren't for me running into them and the Lord allowing me to
Mm.
have these people in place, I would not be able to even. I doubt it very seriously that we'd be having this conversation.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Wow.
I'd like that to be known. You asked what I like the audience to know and what I like the audience to do. Organizations like Restoring Justice,
Mm-hmm.
who are fighting for individuals who are innocent or have gotten a bad deal
Mm-hmm.
dealing with law enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
These people are volunteering their time
Mm-hmm.
to see that justice is restored.
Yes.
Simple as that. And,
Yes.
and that's what they did on my behalf.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Wow.
uh, the attorney, they showed up, all four of them. Hey, they showed up.
Wow.
They came there. They made sure my wife was taken care of while I was incarcerated. Once they signed on,
Mm-hmm.
what could they do for her? What could they do helping her with my kid,
Yeah.
with my 3-year-old?
Mm-hmm.
Just whatever it was. They were making phone calls. They helped me with my housing, with my food stamps, and
Mm-hmm.
and just a whole bunch of other stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
they're consistently doing it even now,
Yeah.
which is why I, instead of being upset or bitter about this situation, it says when life gives you lemons, make lemonade.
Yes.
So I am doing my internship. I will be starting my internship with Restoring Justice as
Okay.
a reentry uh, peer support specialist.
Okay.
I've taken my core peer training. I took that last week, and
Mm-hmm.
I will be taking my final exam this week, so
Okay.
that I will be licensed through Texas to be a reentry specialist, because I want for people who are coming in and out of prison, the county, or whatever, to have some valid, um, credible
Mm.
resources with regard to housing, food stamps,
Right.
medical,
Yeah.
getting phones, and
Yeah.
not something that's old or outdated, or people giving you a brush off
Mm-hmm.
answer when, hey, you don't have a lifeline.
Right.
So I
Right.
want to make that available because of what I've just went through. That's the
Yes.
best thing that I could do.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it's therapeutic for me because it's helping me process. Rather than be mad at the system, do something to
Mhm.
help fix the system.
That's right. That's the attitude to take,
Yes,
and
ma'am.
so I definitely can relate to that, because I was hoping to stay at Parole for the long haul. Put a 20 years in or whatever, and but there was another plan destined for me,
Yes, ma'am.
and so because of my retirement, this is why we're here, and
Yes,
i'm
ma'am.
i'm doing the same thing with Prevention Zone, wanting to give back to the community, wanting to make that accountability happen,
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
and
ma'am.
and and I know we can make that happen with people like you, and I'm looking forward to meeting Restored Justice, and so that we can begin collaborating is the word I'm looking for. But
Yes, ma'am.
I truly appreciate you being on. We kind of got off to a slow start, and I'd like to stay consistent, but it's okay, because I
Yes,
was
ma'am.
gonna say, well, I said, no, we're gonna do this tonight,
Mhm.
in spite of. And
Yes,
I
ma'am.
appreciate you so much coming on here with your proof of the wrongdoing that occurred in your life. And we couldn't have had it any other way. And as you stated, that's public record. They can put your name in and see the
Yes,
documents,
ma'am.
the
It
information,
is. Yes, as we speak, it's
that
available.
you're not here exaggerating. You're here
No,
telling
ma'am.
the truth.
No,
And
ma'am.
I totally appreciate you. So as we bring our show to a close, again, I appreciate you being on here. And as we close out, just give us a second. I'm gonna go ahead and close this out. So I would like to appreciate the audience for joining us on tonight with this special edition of If Emmett Was Alive Today podcast. And this is you seeing someone who already on parole reintegrated himself back into society successfully, and at the end of the day having to lose everything that he worked for by way of being wrongfully accused and wrongfully convicted, if you ask me, because he wound up staying in jail. But at the end of the day, his case got dismissed, and he spent over 18 months in the county jail and lost everything. And so we need to hold our society, our legislators accountable. And it's going to take Prevention Zone Inc. and other nonprofits that are out there trying to do criminal justice reform. And we need to be held accountable. And again, I appreciate you all follow us on all of our social media for Prevention Zone Inc. You can Google our name and we pop up. You can go to our website, just put in preventionzoneinc.org. And if you need to reach out to us, we're here and we're here to serve. And again, I appreciate you all joining our show, If Emmett Was Alive Today podcast, special edition. And so I would like to wish you all happy holidays, and we're looking forward to 2024. And stay encouraged, stay focused, because 2024 is going to be a year of good things happening. I'm putting that in the atmosphere now. Good things happening. And so again, we'll see you soon. Thank you for joining us.